Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another beautiful day with us on Live with Lloyd. I am your host, astronumerologist Lloyd Strayhorn. And as you see, my guest this evening, which will be coming on in about another 10 minutes or so, give or take, is a person I've known for decades. And our relationship has always been close, although we are thousands and thousands of miles away, oceans away. Nonetheless, it shows that once you have a relationship that is really of quality, it tells you how long it lasts. Anyway, let me do this, folksies. Okay, let me see something. One of the things that's very interesting when you're doing this all by yourself, you have no one else to turn to. But thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Um, there's a couple of things I do want to do. There was a woman, Mariah Harris. I'm going to wait a little bit till I'm in it because she actually um, made a donation for which I didn't see that was brought to my attention through Jazz Aphrodite. So I'm going to make sure I do that. But before I start, let me tell you the sponsors is brought to you, in fact, by Jazz Aphrodite. That's going to have an event. Um, Come and learn the cards. It's an oracle deck. Iya, Iya, well, I'm not going to do that. I know what my brain is saying. My tongue is not matching it. But anyway, it's going to be an oracle deck uh, masterclass on the 6th of October. They are sponsoring it. Thank her very much. Also, Brother Reza Islam with his neutral supplements that's just absolutely amazing. And when you order, just use the QR code and type in numbers and you get a 10% discount. Also, you get a 10% discount when you go to Nicholas Brooklyn. They're celebrating 50th anniversary, 50 years in business. And you mentioned Live with Lloyd Strayhorn, and you will also get a 10% discount. You know what? They so beautiful. I think you get a discount anyway. That's how they roll. Also, King Simon, my buddy, he is having an event coming up soon. He's going to have another event coming up on the 27th that I'll inform you after my guest today. And also Manifest on Purpose with Miss Kimberly. So for those of you who missed her interviews and whatnot, just go to kimberly.com, Kimbaley. She has one on with La Portia, who was just out of sight interviewed today. In fact, La Portia will be a guest on my show on Monday, October the 7th. And she's going to be talking about that. But in the meantime, let me give you the forecast for today. It is, I think I got everything right today. It's Wednesday, it's the 25th. The sun is in Libra, the moon is in Cancer. It's an 8 universal month, a 3 universal week, a 6 universal day. So Libra's in Taurus. So those born on the 6th, the 15th, or the 24th of the month, well, this is your day to shine. It's pretty much just that simple. Before I do, I want to give credit to 3 young children. Okay. Why? These children, take a look. These children have more of their IQ is higher than Bill Gates, Albert Einstein, Isaac Newton. And I want to congratulate these 3 young African American children, Romani Wilford, Alana Beavers, and Alana George. They have the highest IQ in the world, surpassing those of Einstein, Gates. Romani, with an IQ of 162, aims to study at Oxford. Alana is just 4, could recite the United States and Capitol by age 5. Alana also taught herself to read before starting school. I'm just telling you some of these things that we need to know, and a couple of other things too. This it's just amazing, um, the power of our children once being given the right direction and whatnot. So I just wanted to do all of that and starting school in the Mensa program. So all 3 of these youngsters have a greater IQ individually, not combining, individually better than Bill Gates, Albert Einstein, Isaac Newton. Okay. So when people try to talk things about we don't have it, I'm saying if you look at many of the things that's been invented in this country, okay, all of you should be shaming yourselves. We've done quite a bit with or without education. And despite the conditions, this is the point, despite the conditions, we wasn't brought here to kind of like go and get gold in the mountains of California and all this other stuff. We were brought here to build this nation, which we did for 200 years, absolutely for free. So that's all I'm saying. Again, I ain't taking nothing away from nobody. I'm not taking anything away from us. And in light of that, I do want to acknowledge uh, Miss Mariah Harris. Now, she is born on May the 15th, 1992. So I hope she's on right now. And by the way, before I bring on my guests, when y'all chime in, can y'all please let me know? That was fun. There was such a cross section of people around the country that tunes into the show, from New Zealand to South Africa to Hawaii to Alabama to Texas to New York to the Bronx. I mean, it's just very flattering to see. In fact, my guest is thousands of miles away, who lives in Hawaii on what is called the Big Island. He's been a guest on my show before, but when you understand why I bring him on, because we've been talking about wealth this week, wealth this month, rather, wealth in the form, of course, people think of money, but we're going to talk about wealth in the terms of health and nutrition too. And no one can do it better than my guest, Brother Donald Thomas. And Donald, I'm going to bring you on right now. I'm not going. In fact, what I'm going to do is wait and make sure Mariah Harris is on the show, and toward the end, I'll make sure I do that. But in the meantime, Donald, how we doing, buddy?
Aloha, good brother.
Aloha, aloha. You know, in my book, Numbers and You, I was very proud to announce the section on numerology in events. And one of them was an event. There's this guy that I know and you know very well that broke 3 Guinness World Records using my numerology. And he happens to be on the other side of the screen right now. Donald, how you doing?
Lord, I just want to thank you for that. And I have to tease you because from the earliest days, when you first put me in your book, I had 2 Guinness Book World Records. And you always said, I said to you, I said, well, in the grand scheme of things, what would you say is the best amount of records for me to go for? You know, the downfall of many a great boxing champion is not knowing when to quit. And
Mm.
so you put me on the path to say, okay, if you're going to go for this record, 3 would be the best that you could go for. And so I always had something to say, okay, when I hit 3, that's it. I'm done. You know, it's not like the boxer that has to get knocked on his butt before he accepts the fact my day is done. I did my 3 and that's it. And so, you know, even from that, numerology has been so helpful for me.
And I never forgot, because your mom was always your biggest fan. We
Biggest
did
fan.
it up at City College. And in fact, this was the first Guinness record. So for those of you, say, yeah, right, 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 right. This was the very first Guinness record. And I think in your case, you said that it was signed originally by the founders of the Guinness World Book of Records.
Yes, when you see those 2 signatures at the bottom there, those are some of the original people who were involved with the Guinness Book of Records. They have passed on. And if you see any modern Guinness records, I don't even know if they get a signature. The new Guinness records look differently than mine. So when I tell people I'm an OG, original Guinness, you know, my Guinness records go back to the 1970s and 80s.
Yeah.
Before there was an entry fee. You know, it's a $600 entry fee if you want to go for a Guinness record nowadays, $800 if you want them to expedite reviewing what you have submitted. I never had more than $500 total for any Guinness Book World Record that I went for.
Hold it, Donald. You mean at the time applied for and achieved the Guinness records, there was no fee?
There was no fee. There was no fee back in the 70s and 80s. And on some levels, I feel good in the sense that nowadays money is involved. So even if you have the talent, if you didn't have the money, it kind of holds you back. Whereas in the earliest days of the Guinness Book, one man, one woman versus the record. And if you had the ability to do it, as long as you had all of the proof that the Guinness Book required, you were in. Nowadays, even if you have the talent and the ability, if you don't have the money. And nowadays, not only is it the $600 for the entry fee, but if it's something like I did 93 hours, but it was in New York, if it was someplace else, they want you to pay for one of their official people to oversee while you're doing it. So that can rack up even more money. Yeah, so it's not just any man, any woman who versus the record. It's any man, any woman who's got the money. It's like running for president
with a checkbook or a credit card.
That's right. That's right. You know.
And this is the second one. And they're also signed, I think, by the original people that signed the first one. I'm looking at the signatures. They look identical.
That's right. That's right. Yes. So now, those are the original people. Those are the original people who got involved with the Guinness Book of Records. And, the whole point of that is to be able to say, my first book called Philosophy of Divine Nutrition, that was the 93-hour record that you first showed. Mm-hmm. This record, as well as the second one, I used my other book to do it. So I made my books world records. Again, I didn't have money for marketing, but I made my books world records unto themselves. So somebody says, what on earth did you talk about? My books.
I know, I was there. And this is the third one.
That's the third one. Might be the same. I'm looking. I have to kind of yes. I think Norris McMurtry, he might have no. I think that he signed it as well. So yeah. So still, as I say, because my record started from 1978 to 1988. That's when that was the period of time that I did my Guinness record attempts.
Over 10 years, and that's when we had our famous herbologist, Dr. Moore.
Exactly.
Now, actor Wesley Snipes was your massage person.
Wesley Snipes was at my third Guinness record. The Guinness book gives you a 5-minute rest after every completed hour, and I always have to give acknowledgement. Dr. Moore, I had 92 5-minute rest breaks between Monday and Friday. Dr. Moore was there. Dr. Moore was there for every 5-minute rest break. So when it comes to me being able to say that I had a teacher who was truly in my corner, literally. Every 5-minute rest break.
And what did Wesley Snipes do?
Now, Wesley helped me in the conditioning. If you're going to stand up and talk for any length of time, you start getting muscle strain and everything else. So along with his other skills, Wesley was a massage therapist. And so he helped me with massage therapy.
Good. And you just told me he himself has broken a Guinness record. Can you explain that, please?
Wesley Snipes has to be acknowledged. Many people would be surprised to know that there was a time when the Marvel Cinematic Universe wasn't a blockbuster business as it is now. The first movie, Blade, is recognized as having broken the Marvel curse. It was the most successful Marvel movie in the earliest days of the superhero movies. Because Wesley did that movie, I forget when he did it in the 80s, yes, and he appeared in this latest Deadpool Wolverine movie. He received a Guinness record because from the first Blade to appearing as Blade in this year's movie, it makes him the longest running actor to play a superhero. Hugh Jackman had it for playing Wolverine the longest, but by Wesley coming into that movie, they gave him the award for having the longest length of time playing a superhero.
Well, let me say this. Speaking of Guinness records, in the 80s, when Wesley came to me, we met at the Harlem State Office building. He said he was forming a film company, and he gave me several names, and the name he chose and we agreed on was Amun-Ra Films, under which Blade was made.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this goes to show. So anyway, so Donald, over and above these tremendous Guinness records you broke, we will also talk about health and the health of nutrition. Nowadays, it's so interesting that I saw something earlier this morning where a box of cereal would have about 20 ingredients in it, but the same American manufacturer would send that same box of cereal into another country with only maybe 4 or 5 ingredients in it.
That's right.
Minus the dyes and the chemicals and all this other stuff. And so I was very curious as to if the American companies can do that there. Why can't they do that here without all the red dye number 10 and yellow dye number 40 and all these other things so we could be better? Because health is a very challenging, although people go to the gym, they tell you to keep hydrated. Health has been more of a problem than anything before.
You have lobbying, political lobbying. There's a reason why there's a very much of a hands-off approach when it comes to vitamin supplements in general. As much as supplements are important and vitamin supplements and so on are important, in America, there's not strict oversight. So sometimes you could be buying vitamin C and it's really just, it could be sawdust. It could be anything. Unfortunately, that's not to make people afraid of it. But the point is, the vitamin and industry in America, just like even certain foods industry, it does not come under the same strict authorities that Europe. There's certain meats that they won't accept it in Europe. They won't accept American beef in certain parts of Europe because of the hormones that the animals are raised with. Same thing goes for the chickens and so on. And you made a good point. A McDonald's Happy Meal in America and that same McDonald's Happy Meal in France, it's like a third of the ingredients in that French Happy Meal than American, because France won't accept certain chemicals and things like that in their foods.
Why don't you think why don't you think McDonald's or these other corporations do the same thing here? I mean, don't they have the FDA or Food and Drug Administration to oversee these things?
They do, but then you have political lobbying that can keep these things from not being. Give you the best example. You showed the brother Dick Gregory to give an acknowledgement. Over 30 years ago, Dick Gregory acknowledged the fact that the menthol cigarette was being marketed primarily to the black community. To this day, you have people who have lobbied to try to keep that menthol cigarette on the market, even though African-American men have one of the highest rates of lung cancer and cancer of the esophagus. So it's all about political lobbying and money. If I give money to a group, I'm the tobacco industry and I give money to a group and they get ready to do something with tobacco, well, I kind of bought that group. If that group is not prepared to stand up and speak up in the name of what is healthy for the community, and instead they're going to defend the tobacco industry, there's no such thing as a healthy cigarette. But if
Right.
if you're giving me money and they just like say they say we don't want you to smoke cigarette 20 feet from an entrance. But my organization has received money from the tobacco industry. You have actual organizations that try to fight that. Okay, so unfortunately, money buys support, good and bad.
Well, I'll give you an example. Several months ago, there was a article about the negative effects of ultra processed food. It's one
Right,
thing about processed food. Now
right,
it's gone to the next level where it's ultra processed food. Do you know the food lobby fought against it,
sure,
saying they were concerned about, in essence, the loss of profit?
right. That's
To
right.
me, okay, Donna, let me get this straight. Now we're older gentlemen. We come out of a school of common sense. Wouldn't you think that the more healthier the citizens, the longer they live, the more money you would make over the long run from raising a quality product and services in the food industry? Wouldn't you
If
think
your
that?
society first and foremost made money off of people being healthy, yes. But when you have a medical system that makes money off of people being ignorant of how to take care of themselves, if every person in America ate the way the American Heart Association told you to eat, and it reduced the amount of people coming into the doctor's office for heart problems, for high blood pressure medications, for stents, for all of those things, you're losing money. I knew a dentist, and the dentist told me, he said, the dentist did such a good job of telling people to brush after every meal and floss. Total income in dentistry went down. That's why they had to start promoting adult dentures, and all of the other things that you can get now. They had to do something to make up for the loss of people not having dental cavities. So when your health system is based upon people not knowing how to take care of themselves, then that's why they're going to fight you really taking care of you. It is counterintuitive, but yeah, if everybody took care of themselves, it would be devastating to the healthcare industry the way the healthcare industry is set up now. I went to the doctor just the other day. I just had a birthday on the 21st. The nurse said to me, haven't seen you in a long time. I said, this is my yearly checkup. She said, yeah, that's the only time we see you, where there's other people who are in here all the time. So they don't make money off of me. They make money off the people and it's unfortunate because I mean, it's a grim reaper kind of
Exactly.
mentality. It's a grim
Exactly.
reaper mentality. We don't want you to know how to take care of yourself because then you don't see us.
But the sad part about it is being sick is very costly. You can have a person made millions, and all those millions will go for, just to try to get
Healthcare,
well.
try to
And it's
get well.
painful,
This is
debilitating, a
right.
strain on the family members,
Sure. This
relatives,
is
and
what you and I
friends.
were talking about when we were talking about prosperity. I have a prosperity ministry. And as I said, the motto of my prosperity ministry is health is your greatest wealth. And why should you die before your time? In the science of gerontology, the scientific study of the aging process, we know that African Americans, Native Americans have one of the shortest lifespans and life expectancies. So
Seriously?
yes, and that's been a fact for decades. For as long as you and I have known each other, that has been a scientific fact. I don't know his name, but there was a politician when I was in high school. He was suggesting that maybe they should lower the age requirement to collect Social Security for Black people because it was a statistical fact that Black people didn't live as long. So here
Interesting.
you and I are working and we're putting money into that system every 2 weeks when we get paid. But because as a group, we don't live as long, we don't get as much out of the Social Security system as people who live to the full age of 75, 76. They did studies years ago to say that a man and a woman from Harlem had the same life expectancy as people in third world countries in
I heard
Bangladesh.
that. Yes, that's right.
Yes.
I heard that before at one
you
time.
know so the idea is that when you start talking about prosperity, the first prosperity is your health. I say I'm a Social Security disability advocate. I say to people, don't work hard all your life to wind up giving the money to the doctor and the pharmacist because you've burnt yourself out. Now you work hard, honest, hardworking person. You paid your taxes, paid your dues, you're ready to enjoy your golden years, but now your health is bad. You can't hardly do anything. Your legs are stiff, your back is bad.
And medicine can be expensive.
Yes, yes. Medicine. Give you a quick example. I say the only thing I take as far as a medication, I take an eye drop. With insurance, it's $10. The young lady at the pharmacist showed it to me. Without insurance, it's $315. It's an
What?
eye drop. Okay. My wife and I, we met in the mental health field. There's psychiatric medications that cost thousands of dollars per month. So and that same medication, if you went to Canada, would be far less. So people have to always accept the fact that in our country, there are those who profit off of disability. There are those who profit off of people being ignorant of how to take care of themselves. You would think that the average person, you would think that the average politician would want to see every American a registered voter. There are people who fight that because they tell you if everybody was a registered voter, there are certain political parties that would never win. Okay. Yeah, they
You think
said
about
that.
it like that,
Yeah,
and
they
they're
said
always fighting over it too. There's even debate now about it. Well, no, we're not going to have another debate between them
that. Right.
because of the early election and all this other stuff.
Yeah,
And
yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of hanky panky going on, as they say. But the point is that going back into just health, health is a significant part of any true prosperity. You may not have a dime in your pocket, but if you're healthier than a millionaire, you're just as rich as that millionaire because that millionaire is spending all his money on medicines and he can't enjoy his life. You may not have the money, but if you can wake up on your own steam today, you feel good about yourself and about life, you can go out there and have a good day. Whereas that rich man, if he's sick from the time he wake up, yeah, he's got money, but he's miserable.
You know something? Steve Jobs, just before he passed away, had made certain statements that it's not about the money and how to
Right.
teach his kids not so much focus on the money, but the more, just paraphrasing it, on the more humane side of life.
Quality of life.
Just how much money you can make, and everybody's got all this money, but they're very sick. So it just seems so to me counterintuitive. That's
Too.
that's what's baffling to me.
Well,
And you
you're a rich person, but you know that you don't have any real friends. I'm poor, but the people that I know they're for me because it's not about what I have because I don't have anything. So they must be for me. So they must be for me and not just what they can get from me. And so that's even a question of a quality of life. You can't put a price tag on quality of life. Waking up in the morning and looking forward to the day. I worked with a brother that was in Ohio as an IBM tech, and he was smart enough, if you will, to get a transfer from Ohio to Honolulu. Unfortunately, the brother suffered with depression, and I met him in the mental hospital. And I had my badge on and I had a little Spider-Man pin on. And once he saw that pin, he started talking to me. And the psychiatrist asked me, he said, "What did you say to him?" I said, "Why?" He said, "Because that's the most he talked all day." And I would work with that brother for about 2 or 3 years after I met him. And I would start off the morning with, and he gave me permission to call his name, "Good morning, Lamont." His response, "What's so good about it?" Many people suffer with depression. And if
interesting.
you're suffering with that depression, that clouds everything in your life for that day, for that week, for whenever you stay in it. And we as a people suffer with depression, anxiety, and all the other things that any other human being suffers with. And if we're not getting the help, that reduces our quality of life.
I don't think people have a clue, and yet they got us pushing junk. And it's so interesting because this uh, thing that went on, I forgot somewhere in DC, they were showing the various brands from snacks to cereals. They show what is in the ingredients here in this country in the packaging, and what is not in the ingredients that
That's
go
right.
out. And
That's
yet
right.
and see what baffles me, and maybe I'm just naive, forgive me, but the same company that makes it here sends it there. And
Sure.
why can't that company again send it? Although I know I just said that a couple of minutes ago, but it's kind of baffling
Yeah.
that why can't they take that same attitude and eliminate those things
Right.
that countries abroad are not going to accept? I don't care what you say.
That's
And if
right.
they can do that there, it seems like they can do that here. So we
Well,
can
that's where the money comes in at. Money is important, but money can corrupt many of things. Money can corrupt nutrition. Money can corrupt medicine. Money can corrupt politics. If I have enough money, if I can lobby to stop, like I said, with the menthol cigarette, they were trying to do away with the menthol cigarette. You had people who lobbied the president and who pushed, "No, we don't want you to get rid of that menthol cigarette." The whole point of the menthol cigarette, because it's menthol, it causes you to inhale more of the smoke. I worked in the mental hospital,
oh,
and
that was the attraction of the menthol.
that's right. It causes you to pull in more because it's cooler. Literally, it's a cool, and it causes you to pull in more smoke. So that's why that menthol cigarette is less healthier than even the regular cigarette. Because if the regular cigarette has a aftertaste, well, that menthol has mellowed that aftertaste out. That's the whole point. It has mellowed it out. When I worked in the mental hospital, this is going back years when
That's
they still let people
interesting.
smoke. They had what they call cayuga tobacco, that the people had to roll tobacco themselves. And the doctor said to me, he said, "I want you to look at that cigarette. When they light it, they put it down. No more than a few seconds, it's going to go out. Now, you get any commercial cigarette, you light it, put it in the ashtray, it's going to burn all the way down to the butt, because they treat that commercial cigarette with various chemicals to make it burn, whether you smoke it or not. So everything is a gimmick. It's a gimmick, brother. But
Yeah,
that's
but
the idea.
it's a gimmick against the citizens' health, though.
Against the citizens' health, and only the citizens can be educated. You were talking before. American Heart Association, American Cancer Society, American Diabetes Association. I welcome your listeners to go to any of their websites and see what those three groups have to say about processed meat and red meat. Now, I want you to go and turn on your television, look and see how many black athletes and entertainers are advertising for the latest meat sandwich. We have the meats.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So while the general society is being educated to stay away from that meat and the processed meat and the ultra processed meat, they're using our famous people to advertise it. You're a king at Burger King.
Wow. Wow. Um, that's interesting. That's, it's kind of like mind blowing, and yet it is a very expensive process to try to recover once your health is. And
That's
health
right.
is all you got at the end of the day. I talk about it in my book, Numbers and You, about health. All the
Health.
money in the world. Don't be nothing if you ain't got no health. Because all your money is going to be spent just trying to recover.
Just trying to recover. Just trying to recover. You have money in the bank, but you wake up miserable every morning. So what?
You
My
got a
wife
lot of
works.
money.
My wife works civil service, and if civil service can get to the point where at some point they just marking time, and I say to people, I said, yeah, all not her per se, but you marking time when how long you're going to stay or whatever. It was my experience. The first year I started working at a mental hospital, I was 19 years old. I met two very nice people, a doctor and a nurse, both of them African American, and both of them used to brag how they never took a sick time. Both of them died within a year of retirement.
Really? Why is that, you think?
Well, like I said, you put in all of your energy into that job, but you're not. One of the things about living long enough to retire is to have a retirement plan. Once you retire, you have to have a reason to wake up in the morning. If you haven't developed a lifestyle after work so that you have purpose. That's one of the most important things a person can have is purpose. A teenager who has no purpose finds themselves caught up in drugs, gangs, or whatever, because the street can find you a purpose. An
Yeah.
older person who has no purpose finds themselves in an early grave because they have no reason to get up in the morning. They have no reason to take care of themselves. They haven't made health a part of their life plan. I'm a life coach. And as I say to people, my civil service job was right out of high school. And so I met people at that age that had retired, and I saw what happened to them by not having a good life plan. So when I got up to that point where I was ready to retire, I knew what I was going to do long before I was ready to retire. That's why I told you, I say, I have a comic book collection. Right
Well,
now, as you and
we're
you
going to
want to,
talk about that too, because see, when you say retirement plan, most people think your 401k, your
yeah,
IRA, that
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
plan. They
no,
don't understand the plan for your health and what you do after retirement, other
there
than
you
in the morning, turn on the TV,
go.
sit
Right,
there and watch Who Shot John and how
right.
the world is going to be blown up and all that stuff.
Right, right. You just get pumped up with a lot of doom and gloom. You're not doing any kind of exercise. And I say you don't have to be an Olympic athlete, but you need to be able to get up and take a walk every day or do something. You have to stay active. Use it or lose it. That's just what they tell you. You have to stay active. They're telling more and more, going back to gerontology. One of the best things that senior citizens can do is get involved in some sort of regular exercise program. You don't have to lift 100-pound weights. You can get a 10-pound weight while you're sitting there watching TV during the commercials. You can lift your weights or even stand up and sit down. One of the things I say to all senior citizens, you want you to go to every room in your house and get on the floor. How will you get up? One of the biggest challenges for the senior
Really?
citizens is
That's
falls.
interesting.
Falls is what you could have a person that was good and they were healthy as an older person until they had that fall. And once they had that fall, things kind of went down. So I always say to people, you want to have somebody in the house with you, go to every room in your house and get on the floor. Now, how would you get up? If you fell, how would you get up? What would you be able to grab a hold to get up? How close is the phone to you to be able to call somebody for emergency? Do you have a life alert or anything like that to help you? Especially if you live alone, you need to think about these things. What's going to happen to me if I'm in here by myself and I get sick? how can I respond, or how can I contact somebody?
You know, Donald, seriously, it came to mind about several months ago or earlier this year. A client that I know said she fell on the floor. Uh, Her phone was not nearby, and she was living with a family member that was asleep in the room that was closed. And it took her hours, she said, to
Before.
finally get it together. I hadn't even thought about that, but this was what was told to me.
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, next month, I understand, supposed to be Senior Citizens Month or something related to seniors.
Yes.
And there was one thing you told me that was interesting. How many prescriptions on average does the
The
senior
average
citizen
senior
take?
citizen in America is on at least 5 different medications. At least 5.
What's the most that you've ever heard someone?
I had a client that was on 16 medications, and she wasn't a senior. She was somebody that had mental illness. But I've had people that have had 16 medications. And see, this is the thing. Once you go, and I'm sure you have more than one doctor, but if you can, try to go to the same pharmacist and bring all of your medications to that one pharmacist and ask that pharmacist to look and see if there's any contraindications of mixing any of those medicines together. You
When
went to
you
the
say
foot doctor.
when you say contraindications, what are you saying?
Negative side effects of taking pill from Dr. A with pill from Dr. B. Dr. A gave it to you for your heart. Dr. B gave it to you for your feet. But come to find out, if you take those two things together, it can make you dizzy, make you sick on your stomach. I had a gentleman that was he was a recovering drug addict, and they wanted to revoke his parole because they said he was, every time he came to the parole officer, he was stoned. I asked him, please bring me all your medications. Got his medications, went with him to the pharmacist. Pharmacist say, oh, under no circumstances should he be taking these 3 things together at the same time. He's lucky he's not completely loopy. So it's the medication that had him. Yeah, so the medication had him stoned and loopy. It wasn't that he was, he was violating his parole. He was following what he was supposed to do. But if one doctor doesn't know what the other doctor is prescribing, you have to go to your pharmacist and ask that pharmacist, everything that I'm taking, and they have it by computer now. Anything that I'm taking, is it contraindicated? Is there negative side effects if I mix this with this? We all should know no medication should you take with liquor. So that's just a standard. You don't drink a beer.
In other words, that's what you consider automatic. That's
automatic. Automatic. I don't care if it's aspirin, Tylenol, or prescription medication. You never take it with alcohol, because it'll ruin your liver. First and foremost, it's bad on your liver and your kidneys. You in some cases you're neutralizing the effects of the medication with the alcohol, but in general, mixing that alcohol with that medication is bad on your liver.
Wow.
Can be toxic to your liver.
Now, what about doctors that say that, well, once you on medication, you got to be on it for life? I heard that a lot. Is that true, or is there some?
There are several diets, and people who have insurance can look into this themselves. There's the DASH diet. DASH stands for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. And there is the Ornish program, Dr. Dean Ornish. I'll start with Dr. Ornish. Dr. Dean Ornish in the late 1970s, 80s, developed a clinical nutrition program. It's all vegetarian program. People who were scheduled to have surgery, heart surgery, over a period of time with a change of diet, stress management, mild exercise, they were able to reverse the clogging in their arteries so that they did not need to have the surgery.
Seriously?
That is a program that is covered by some insurances today. So it's Ornish, ORNISH, Dr. Dean Ornish program. You can find out, does your insurance company pay for that program if you have heart condition?
Now review that one more time so people get this. Dr. Ornish's program says what?
Dr. Dean Ornish's program is a lifestyle changing program that will allow you in many cases to avoid heart surgery as a result removing the clogging in your arteries through diet, exercise, etc. It's called the Ornish program, and there are insurance companies that pay for it. The other program is called DASH,
Yes.
Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. High blood pressure is one of the number one factors in heart disease. Heart disease is the number one killer in America. Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension, basically, it's not a vegetarian program, but it was a program designed to mimic all of the health benefits that a vegetarian program would give you, which is lower cholesterol, lower heart disease, etc.
Interesting.
And so that dietary approach to stop hypertension, in this program, they purposely, in their clinical research, use 60% African Americans. The logic being, we're going to take a group of people who have some of the highest rates of hypertension and put them on this program. And we will show you through clinical research that as a result of these people going on this program, all of their blood pressures went down to a relatively normal level. So the logic being, if we can take the people with the highest rates of these illness and put them on a dietary program and reduces their blood pressure, then it's a program that we can say is good for the general society. It's not a black diet, but they use 60% black people to make the point that a program that says it can stop hypertension could take the people with the highest rates of hypertension and reduce it.
Now, is DASH related to what they call the Mediterranean diet? Does that make sense?
Very similar in terms of ultimately the same sorts of foods. The big thing with the DASH program is they definitely want you to keep your sodium intake below 1,500 milligrams a day. The average American is consuming 3,500 or more a day, and they want you to up your potassium. In terms of nutrition, you always want to have 3 or more times more potassium per day than you want sodium per day. Sweet potatoes is a form of potassium. Bananas is a form of potassium. Even your green leafy vegetables give you a certain amount of potassium. So the idea is to, like I say to people, the people down in the South always had a pot of greens on. That's nothing new. So many of them, they're telling this is health food. Oh, kale probably costs, I don't know, in New York, I don't know how much kale costs, but they try to make that like the superfood. The people always had mustard greens, collard greens, kale. And that is something now that all of the nutrition doctors are telling you is one of the best things you could eat on a regular basis.
You know what's interesting? I was saying to the viewers last week, a week before last, I was in a supermarket and there was an organic lemon. You know what's interesting? In the days of our grandparents and great grandparents, everything we ate was organic because it wasn't sprayed with all these chemicals. Okay,
Exactly.
So now that they spray with all that stuff.
That's right.
The organic lemon was $1.99. One organic lemon.
Right. Because it's cheaper for them to grow the lemons with pesticide. In some cases, not so much lemon, but in other things, they put a wax on the outside of the fruit to preserve it more and so on. And for some people that are vegan, sometimes the wax may not come from a vegetable source. It can be from an animal source. So that's why they say a fruit may or may not be organic, only in the sense that if it's been coated with a wax, if the wax is from an animal source, then technically it wouldn't be a vegan product and so on. But yeah, the whole point is that everything that the old people ate was organic. They used cow manure, horse manure. That was the fertilizer that they used before they got into the chemical fertilizers that are used nowadays. So yes, what they refer to as organic is simply, if you go back 100 years, everything was organic, and so that's why when they were arguing, say, I remember, say 40, 50 years ago, oh, organic, you can't grow this and you can't grow that. I said, man, that's what they used to grow up until the time that you came up with all the chemicals. Organic has been around much longer than the chemicals have been around to grow.
Well, Donald, I don't know what to say other than I just think it's amazing. And so it's interesting, since you kind of retired in your own way, but I think it's very interesting too, to have something to do, to have something to symbolically live for.
Right.
Not just say, okay, I worked and they gave him a little watching.
Give me a watch.
I mean, they give me watch no more. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
give you a plaque. That's about it. Give you a plaque. Yeah. So my point was, and as I say, a part of life. One of the healthy things that a person could do at any age. You want to have interests, outside interests, hobbies, things that you do just for the sake of doing it because you enjoy doing it. Be it sewing, be it working with animals, be it collecting comic books. Anything that you do that's just for hobby, that's very good mental stimulation. That's something that gives you a purpose and gives you an enjoyment. And that's also a part of your life skills. Again, as a life coach, I work with people in their 20s and say, now is the time to start developing good habits, good hobbies, something that you can always stick with. If you're an athlete, if you're a college athlete, it's unlikely that you're going to be playing football when you get to be 40 and 50. You have to find something that you can do just about all of your life. I promote rope jumping, and I developed a jump rope program called New Jump Swing. Well, you swing the rope at least a third of the time. As I say, the older I get, the less I jump, the more I swing, but I can still do it. You got to know your limitations. You reach a point in life. I went for a jump rope record when I was 27. I'm not thinking about going for a jump rope record now. But like I said to you, the downfall of many a great athletic champion is not knowing when it's time to quit, not knowing when it's time to put those boxing gloves down. Ronnie Coleman is the highest winning bodybuilder. He won 8 times. A brother. Ronnie Coleman has had so many different surgeries, and so now he's walking with crutches. You have to know. That's why the beauty of numerology. On day one, I said, okay, 3 world records. That's it. If I don't care if it take me the rest of my life, 3 is good for me. I don't. The Rocky movie. Rocky, he asked him, "You still got something in your basement? You still have something to prove?" Well, by knowing that 3 was my goal, once I hit that goal, my basement is clean.
Well, let me explain for those of you. Donald, my good brother and dear friend for decades, literally, had a birthday on the 21st, just days ago. And so 2 + 1 is 3. And when he approached me with his mom, I explained that his numbers are the 3, 6, and 9, and everything he's done around that is. And in fact, and before we go to your hobby that you found, which is comic book collecting, which is awesome, can you show me the Guinness Book record with your picture in it, please, so where people can see it?
Okay. Well, this is the 1989 Guinness Book of World Records.
Can you hold it up a little higher, Donald, where people can see it? There we go. Okay, good.
All right. And I appear on page 313. Make sure I find it. Okay, so there it is.
Yeah, that looks like you.
That's me. That's me.
That looks just like you, Donald.
So that was as I say. But here's a little point that I make. That a lady said something to me, and again I go back to prosperity. Just before I left New York, a lady named was Grandma Jones, and Grandma said to me, she said, "Son, never forget, a good name will carry you farther than money. A good reputation will carry you farther than money." And I say to people, here's an example. Bill Cosby is on the cover of the 1989 Guinness Book of World Records. I'm on page 313. Now, between Bill Cosby and me, which one of us has a better name today? Which one of us has a better reputation today? It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the publicity. Who has a better name today? So when people get ready to be prosperous, there's some people, whatever it takes, that's what you're going to do. And I said to you the last time, especially to young people, jive and BS will always produce a faster result than hard work and sacrifice. But hard work and sacrifice will bring you a greater respect in the long run.
And longevity, too.
And longevity. And you have to decide. Right. You have to decide whether you're going to go for the jive and the get over, or you're going to go for the hard work and the respect that that hard work is going to give you, and the longevity in the long run. And it's not easy to say that, because it's hard to tell a kid, don't, stay in school, and his buddy is out there hanging out with the drug pusher making money every day, and you going to school with your books every day, and you're a broke student. It's common to be a starving student. Whereas that same guy decided to go that route. Oh, he got money in his pocket every day. So you really have to make a life choice. Do you want to take that road of hard work, or do you want to take the road of jive and get over?
Why do we think the easy way is the best way?
Because it is easier.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, because it's easier. It's easier. You and I, we won't give our age, but you and I met decades ago. You were doing what you were doing decades ago. I was doing what I'm doing today decades ago, because both of us saw what we were doing as something that we were committed to doing for the rest of our lives. As I say to people, we were able to see past our nose. Many people can't see past their nose. If it's not immediate gratification, if it's not immediate reward, they can't see the value of sticking with it. It's a hard road to take when you are prepared. You want to be a doctor. You can't be a doctor overnight. You want to be a scientist. You can't be a scientist overnight. You want to be a criminal. You can do that right now. Okay.
But there are consequences too.
But yes. But the individual has to decide whether or not those consequences matter to them in that exact moment. Is it easier for me to go on and boost this stuff now, or is it easier for me to go on and work 5 days a week? It's up to the individual. Okay, I started off working. I was lifting soda. I was 16 years old, lifting soda crates for $1 an hour, working at a restaurant. Now somebody else say, man, you can make 10 times that money in this hour if you go work for Johnny, and you could break that drug from this side of town to that side of town, and that's all you have to do. Well, now, hey, it's not everybody can say, well, I'd rather go on and keep on lifting those soda crates for $1 when I can make that big money.
Easy money, supposedly.
Easy money.
But
Easy
with
money.
consequences that sometimes can be deadly or lifelong.
Nobody becomes a teacher thinking that they're going to get rich. Nobody becomes a gangster thinking they're going to live a long time.
Okay, well put down. That's why we're having this conversation.
Okay. Nobody become a gangster thinking they're going to live to be an old man. Live hard, die young. That's the attitude. Okay. Very few senior citizen gangsters. Okay. And those are the smart ones. Like I tell people, I say the smart gangster doesn't get caught. All his boys go to jail. Okay.
True that.
Okay. The smart gangster, he's Teflon. He don't go to jail. All the boys underneath him go to jail. But until the last, he stays out of jail. So that's another part. You're going to be a gangster, be a smart one. Okay. And the smart one doesn't go to. That's why they got my young brothers all pump up. I got street cred. I've been to jail. No, I got street cred. I didn't go to jail. Okay. I say to you again, I was raised on the same dead end street that Mike Tyson come from. Amboy Street between Riverdale and Livonia. The only zip code I had for 27 years of my life, 11212, Brownsville. When I work with young people, I say to them all the time, I said, I want you to look at all of the talent or skills that you see I have. Now, I want you to think of everything illegal that I could have applied my talents and skills to. Whatever you think of, I thought of in detail.
The same.
And if I didn't go that route, it's because I chose not to go that route.
Yeah.
You are not a leaf in the wind. You have ability to take your life into your hands and follow a path that you decide. But that's hard. It's a lot easier to follow the crowd than to stand by yourself. Some decades ago, you told somebody you're a numerologist, they look at you like you was crazy.
I know. I just did an interview about that, where they looked at me all kind of cross-eyed, or, well, how do you make a living? And it didn't sound fantastic or luxurious or flashy or whatever the case is. But brother, I have been blessed to help so many people in a very special way.
So many people. But the point is that you took your life into your hands and chose your life path for your, independent of anything to do with numerology. You chose your life path.
Yeah, because I could have took a whole nother direction in the mean streets of Harlem. Like
there you go. There you go.
We could have went separate. In fact, we wouldn't be having these conversations.
I say to people all the time, the streets of Brownsville made it 10 times easier for me to be a 3-time loser than a 3-time world record holder. 10 times easier.
You never lied. You never lied. And since you retired, you have a purpose also. But actually, you've had a purpose all along the way until retirement. Tell us about your retirement so people have a focus. And let me say before you do, I was explaining in an interview and on this show recently, if you want to find your passions, make a list, a 3-list segment. The first list is everything you've been wanting to do ever since you could imagine, but don't make sure your relatives and friends and family members goes, oh, you can't do that and it's too late to do that. That from that first list, your second list composed of all the things that you can do to make a living, to feed your family, pay your bills, notes, cars, all that other stuff. The third list from that second list is, okay, of all those things that pay bills, what would it I would love to do even if they didn't pay me? And that is how you, to me, now that is my formula for how I think you find your passions, because to me, everybody's got a passion.
Sure they do.
How to look for your passions. If you did not get paid, what would you love to do? And in your case, let me put this up. Donald, what is this?
That is, you are looking at just about every every Spider-Man, not just Amazing Spider-Man, just about every Spider-Man comic in the what they refer to as the 616 Marvel universe. Right now, as you and I are talking, there are approximately, I want to say 910 issues of the Amazing Spider-Man. Before I started selling my collection, I had 909. So I needed Amazing Spider-Man #1 to have every Spider-Man comic book that there has ever been.
You mean out of 909 editions of Spider-Man, you were only missing one?
#1 was all I was missing. And #1 would cost me thousands of dollars. So I said, okay, it's time to start selling. Yes. I loved Spider-Man it was my nickname back in Tilden Day Camp. They nicknamed me Spider-Man.
You were Donald Spider-Man Thomas.
Donald Spider-Man Thomas from the earliest days. And I enjoyed the character. If you're looking back at me, you see also a thing of Black Panther. I have the complete Black Panther comic book collection as well. That one I haven't. Yeah, that one I don't sell.
Because what I understand, in fact, I called you about a week ago because they were talking about things of value. And one of the things of value is comic book collections. And people have to know when they say comic books, in the world of superhero comic books, action comic books for Superman, detective comic books for Batman, Amazing Spider-Man for Spider-Man. They have other titles, but those particular titles are the most expensive. In the name of Amazing Spider-Man, the first 100 issues of the Amazing Spider-Man, those are the most expensive. Those are the ones, I mean, somebody spent over $1 million for Amazing Spider-Man #1. It was professionally graded. You can have what they call raw, and then you have professionally graded. A professionally graded comic book, just like a professionally graded baseball card or any kind of a sports card, by having it professionally graded from a scale of 1 to 10, super rare that you'll have something graded 10. 9.8 would be the highest. That professionally grading, that boosts the price of the comic as well. So, I love the two characters. I kept them in good shape. I kept them in great condition. So that when it was time for me, yes. You can
not only are they in binders, but each binder, the comic book is in a bag. It's in a what they call a non-acid board, because by putting it in a bag and a board that is properly developed for that, it won't peel the ink off of the comic book onto the bag or whatever. So I kept those comics in pristine condition. The brother that I told you about, Lamont, that had the depression, when he committed suicide, he left me 15,000 comic books on top of what I already had.
Wow.
And so
Donald.
Yeah, so I started a comic book store, an online comic book store. It's called the Black Arachnite. Arachnite as in Spider-Man. Arachnid is a spider. The Black
Do you have
Arachnite.
that in your banner?
You
You
know, I
need
don't
to
know if
include
I
that
don't have
next
that.
time.
I
Right.
have New Jump Swing. I don't have the Black Arachnite. So that's another. Um, I have two websites: New Jump Swing, which is anything and everything to do with health and nutrition, and then the Black Arachnite, which is about comic books.
Okay,
And
well, next time we'll do that. We'll do that. You
so
know.
the bottom line is that the idea of collecting comic books, even Dr. Moore, there's an old YouTube video of Dr. Moore, and even he's given a lecture where he's telling people comic books would be something to collect. Not all comic books have big value. It still has to be what is considered to be a key issue. Um, the first appearance of a particular character that you see in the movies now, like say the Kingpin. The Kingpin first appeared in, say, Amazing Spider-Man number 49, 50. Then that would have a little bit more of a value because it's his first appearance. Um, Iron Man comic books are not all that valuable. Thor comic books are not all that valuable. Only maybe a few issues of those. So not all comic books have value. The three that I mentioned, Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, those are the big three when it comes to collecting. But
Repeat this again.
Superman action comic books, Batman detective comic book, and Amazing Spider-Man for Amazing Spider-Man comic books. So those are the ones. So if anybody has any of those titles in their home, you might want to go to eBay and punch it in and see how much it costs. Even like a cousin of mine came here and he had a Sports Illustrated magazine that had Hank Aaron on the cover for the 715. Depending upon the condition of that magazine, you can get a couple of dollars for it. So, one person's junk is another person's collectible. So, you don't throw out these things. I always meet people who tell me that their mother threw out their comic books or their sports cards or so on. Before you throw it out, go to eBay and see how much people are selling it for.
I think that's amazing. Hold up now, Donald. I gotta show this one more time.
Sure.
How many? Hold up.
So
How many
what you're
Spider-Man
looking at
books
there,
are there, brother?
if you go all the way to it's my right, that's
Hold
the
up.
entire Black Panther comic book collection. So Black Panther came out in Fantastic Four number 52, 53, and then he had a series of his own titles. So
Hold
those
up.
first,
All of the comics on the right-hand side of the screen is who?
yeah, on the right hand, my right. So those first two, you see the black, everything looks a little different. So if you look up and you see all of the black, that's all Black Panther. So that's the complete Black Panther comic book collection. Right next to it, you see hardcover. And so those are some of the hardcover collectibles of Black Panther. As I decided to sell my comic books, I decided to still keep up with my hardcover collection of those same comic books because I'm a collector. I can't help it.
Now, what
What
about those in the center? These in the carton in the books. What is those? Spider-Man?
Yes, Spider-Man had different titles. Spider-Man, Peter Parker, The Spectacular Spider-Man, Web of Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, Peter Parker Spider-Man, Sensational Spider-Man. All of those were tie-in titles. And so that's what you're looking at in that entire picture there. So
What
that's
about
like
the collection on the left?
your left, my right. So the ones on the left, all Spider-Man. The ones in the middle, all Spider-Man. The ones to the right, the first two, Black Panther. And then everything below that, that's also Spider-Man.
Okay. Let
So when you
me.
say Donald Spider-Man Thomas, I got cred.
In more ways than one.
I got cred.
But Donald, let me just get this. Numbers is my thing. Out of
Yes.
900 Spider-Man comics, how many do you have?
Well, I had, as I say right now, if there are 910 issues of Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man came out in 1962. So out of all of the Spider-Mans that have ever been published, Amazing Spider-Man, right now, this month, it may be 909. I had 908. I needed one
Wow.
to have every Amazing Spider-Man that has ever been printed. So that I had one of the largest Spider-Man collections that there are.
Well,
I
obviously,
met,
after
I met
908, I'd say you have some bragging rights. If I
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
well, I got
yeah.
8, and you say you got 908, trust
That's
me,
right.
you ain't
That's
even in
right.
the ballpark.
No, no, and as I say, I enjoyed the character. And, people would say to me, oh, what you going to do with your collection? I say, well, I'll sell it when I retire. And so, so now that I'm retired, I go on and sell it, and I can say to people without putting a number out there, I've made tens of thousands of dollars within the last 3 years off of my Spider-Man collection. That I can say,
And we
tens of
ain't even
thousands.
talking about the other ones you got.
No, no, just the Amazing Spider-Man. So I mean,
That's
but again, my point is to people, if you have something that is a collector, you have people who collect salt and pepper shakers. You have people who collect Coca-Cola bottles or whatever. One person's junk is another person's collectible. So if it's something that is collectible, you go on YouTube and I'm not YouTube, on eBay and see if somebody could have, they have 99 and they need that 100th piece, and you happen to have it.
well.
You can,
This is interesting. This is from Johnny Johnson. He says, Dr. Donald Thomas, or yeah, Dr. Thomas, you are a doctor too. Is it good to go to yard sales, garages, sales, Salvation Army, Goodwill Estate to find good stuff?
yes, and especially if you know exactly what kind of good stuff you're looking for.
Uh-huh.
So this way, if you're going to a garage sale and you know that let's say you're into
Good
scuba
question,
diving.
Johnny. Good question.
Yeah, you're into scuba diving and you go to an estate sale and this person was a scuba diver, well, then you may find something there. Or if you're into rare books and this person was a librarian or someone that was known for having a large collection, then you are pinpointing a good place to go to find those sort of things. I mean, some people just like going to the garage sales anyway because you never know what you may find. It's kind of, hit and miss. But if you can kind of go to places where this person was into the sort of things that you're interested in, you'll find you can kind of pinpoint more of what you wanted to find.
Speaking of Spider-Man, Strawberry 1955 says, I need to check my Spider-Man comic. I have an amazing Spider-Man early edition.
Whatever that edition is, again, you can go to my website, newjumpswing.com. You can contact me through that. Let me know the comic you have, and I can kind of give you an idea of what its value is. The first 100 issues of Amazing Spider-Man is always going to be the most expensive, but there's other titles, there's other issues that come up, like the movie Venom. Venom first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man number 300. You can get about $35 or more for that comic. If it's in print, mint condition, you could probably get more for it. So, whatever is that particular issue, contact me and let me know, and I can kind of let you know. And as I say, if you go to eBay and you type in whatever is the issue of that Amazing Spider-Man and see what comes up and see how much people are selling it for. That's how I sell my comics. As I had my wife laughing, Arachnite, Arachknight, Black Arachnite.
As in the night, as in the chest.
As in the Black Knight. That's right. So Black Arachnite. Arak is for spider. So Arachknight. Black Arachnite.
Because arachnophobia is fear of spiders.
Fear of spiders. There you go. So anything with Arak is the spider. So the Black Arachnite is the Black Spider-Man. So, and it wasn't so much Black Spider-Man as me being black as much as I really dug the black costume Spider-Man. I like, because if Peter Parker can't sew, it's a lot easier to get 2 black tops and a bottom and put a spider on it than sit there and try to stitch up all it. So yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, but yeah,
I kept you longer than I should. It's interesting. I was explaining on the show not too long ago that when I go to Hawaii, I go back in time because there's a 6-hour difference. So it's about like here now, 8:11. There it's about 2:11.
2:11. It's 2:11 in the afternoon here.
In the afternoon. So actually, I go back in time. But if I went to China, I go 12 hours ahead of time into the future. Right. So it's
last thing, just to kind of make people and you and I work together. because of those 3 Guinness Book World Records that you put up there, I am one of the longest talkers in the history of human speech. Not
Can you
English.
explain that for those who may think you just talking smack? Can you, if that makes sense?
In the history of human beings being able to talk, the 93-hour, the 30-hour, the 19-hour record establishes me as one of the longest talkers in human speech. There's only about 5 people who have ever talked longer than 93 hours. And I and another gentleman, and he beats me. He is the longest talker, 240 hours, 10 days straight. Okay. All of my records have been retired because to go beyond 93 hours would get into sleep deprivation that could cause you to have a heart attack. And so they retired the categories. So there's no more talking, sermon, after dinner speech. They've been retired. But
that's interesting, Donald.
If people who are into astrology, you might want to look into what is it in astrology that makes me such a long talker. And I went to
talking number.
The 3 is a talker. Jupiter and Gemini in the 8th house, they say, is also, so people can kind of, September 21, 1953, 4:15 p.m.
For those Gemini rules the number 3.
Okay.
I mean, excuse me. Yeah, Jupiter rules the number 3.
Jupiter rules the number 3.
Expressive, talkative, anything.
Yes, I have Virgo, Mercury, and Jupiter in the 8th house and Gemini. Well, Mercury and Jupiter as well. So the point is that one of the things that I did with that first record that I did at the Tree of Life, about 50 books in my book, Philosophy of Divine Nutrition, came from the Tree of Life. I said to Kanya, I wanted to make this book the student handbook for the tree. He said, yeah, can you include all the other things we did? That's why when I got ready to do the record, I came to the numerologist. I said, what's the best numbers? I came to Kanya. I said, okay, I did that record on September 18th. It was a full moon. I spoke to the Chinese astrologer and she told me different things. And so everything that I did, I had used metaphysics. Now, numbers don't break the records, but of all the people, but they don't lie. And of all the people who have broken those records, I'm still standing. I'm still pushing. You know, the numerologist didn't tell me if you use numerology, nobody is ever going to beat your record. Numerologist told me if you use numerology, you're going to get the most out of having broken the record. And I can certainly say, as I'm sitting here in my home in Hawaii, I haven't met anybody else in the Guinness Book. Okay. And that's the point, you know, not by using the numerology, the astrology, et cetera, et cetera. It's just like you get ready to take a trip. You consult the map. The map tells you what's the easiest way to get to the destination. You still have to get in the car or the bus or train and go. But you've been given some sort of guidance on how to get there.
Yeah.
Numerology gave me a guidance on how to get there, how many to go for, what not to go for. Whatever days that I did those records, I consulted the numerologist on the days to go there.
Well, Donald, I tell you, I'm extremely honored. So when I say that I've helped, people say, well, yeah, right. But see, there's proof right here because this is the man that consulted me.
Right.
And our relationship has lasted for decades. I mean,
decades.
Yeah.
Decades.
And it's still going to last until that's.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's amazing.
Donald, well, like anything else, we talk about prosperity, you talk about anything. One of the things they found in the blue zones, one of the things that helps people aging, you maintain some sort of relationships throughout your life. No man, no woman is an island. You need to have some sort of relationship, even if it's thousands of miles away. You have some sort of good social relationships so that you have feedback with people. You just can't live in the world by yourself. You know, it's important to have those kind of social connections.
Well, we are family. We're family. And please give your wife, Pam, my love and everything like that.
That's right.
And, it's so interesting, folks. The first time I went to see Donald in Hawaii, I had a sandwich and you had 3 dogs at the time. And I came back to the room. I had no sandwich, okay?
My dog's name is Frankie and Johnny and King T'Challa. So King T'Challa is the one who took your Oh boy,
That was funny. I said, "Where'd my sandwich go?" Oh, it was gone. It was
gone.
gone.
It's gone.
But
It's
I love
gone.
your dogs ever since. God bless them, though. You know. So anyway, Donald, you take good care of yourself, man. All right. There's a lady I have to read. Hopefully, she's on now where I can read her and everything, so I can stay on a good side. But Donald, hold on, hold on. By the way, please, everybody, this is Donald's um, access. Uh, by the way, are you on Instagram or any of those?
If you go to YouTube and just type in philosophy of divine nutrition, I have three things up there.
Okay. You
Yeah,
go to
philosophy of
YouTube
divine
and click.
nutrition.
And in fact, that is the name of your book that I have in my possession that you autographed to me.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, so I mean, I I, I will. I'm trying to work with social media, but even Facebook keeps kicking me off for some reason and so on. So
I
next year,
don't
I'll
know why
get
it's not
yeah,
controversial. You don't do
yeah.
nothing controversial.
I don't know what the issue was, but they keep kicking me off, and so that's why I don't have anything right now other than I have a YouTube channel, Philosophy of Divine Nutrition.
Please check it out at YouTube, The Philosophy of Divine Nutrition. Please make note of his access to get in hold of him. His site is newjumpswing.com. And please support his PayPal too. You know, he's got to feed those dogs there too. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, Donald, thank you. Love you much, man. You're
Love
great.
you,
You're great.
brother, and I'll be
And we'll
seeing
have you
you.
back in the spring.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. You
yeah,
told me that this was
definitely.
you told me this was an 11 person year, and next year is going to be a 3. So we'll see how things go.
Yeah, next year, no, next year you will be my new best friend, brother. Trust me, it's gonna
All
be
right.
like that. It's gonna be great.
Okay.
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 Have a blessed day, man, and give Pam my best too. All righty.
Will do. Thank you, and aloha to
Okay.
all of your guests and all of your listeners. Aloha.
Aloha to you too, man. Thank you. Donald is a great human being. I mean, in every sense of the word. Now, Mariah Harris, she made a donation on Monday. It was brought to my attention only after because I get so many comments I don't see until after. And she was born on May the 15th. So, first of all, thank you so much, Mariah, for the donation. That's the main thing. And so, you would be an earth sign with an earth number since you're born May 15th. Not only that, the compound 15 denotes money, gifts, and favors from others, although the picture symbol in the tarot card is described as the devil card, but it does denote money, gifts, and favors from others, and an ability to do well in the arts, to do well in business or real estate, banking, law, working for the government, but more importantly, doing well in the world of service like teaching, social work, counseling, uh, all those kinds of things where you are servicing the community and servicing humanity too. And so, by the way, your lucky numbers are always the 6, the 3, and the 9 in your best days. Actually, these are your angel numbers. You know how people say, well, I see angel numbers all the time. Well, your angel numbers is the 6 first, then the 3, then the 9. And you'll find that your best days are always on a Friday without exceptions. The next is Thursday. The next is Tuesday. So, although the calendar would say Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, your cosmic calendar says just reverse. Friday is always first, thank you, then Thursday, then Tuesday. When I say this, folks, what it means is whatever your best days are, it means these are the days to schedule appointments, set up interviews, meet your challenges, take tests, step out on faith. Those things that have consequences and meaning that you want, those days are assigned to you. Again, we're so busy watching everybody else. They got different days. You need to know what your days are. So this is why I suggested you download my app, a star 8 ASTAR, the number 8 ASTAR, the number 8. You can download it either on your your Android or your Apple, and do it like that. But everybody, I do want to thank you, but I do have to acknowledge my sponsors again, please. Okay. And my sponsor is Jazz, Jazz Aphrodite's, her Oracle card deck. They're going to have a masterclass coming up on October the 6th. So just go to jazzaphrodite.com to sign on for that class. Also, intellectual powers from Riza Islam. So great products. It's wonderful products to have in your cupboard, whatever the case is. And when you click on that QR code, you type in the code numbers and you get a discount. Also, all you got to do is just step into Brooklyn, Nicholas, Brooklyn at 1396 Fulton Street and just say her John Lloyd Strayhorn, you get an automatic 10%. But knowing Monique as I do, and Sister Kafunya as I do, you're gonna get some grace anyway. That's how they roll. And also to Dick Gregory's acknowledgement coming up, done by my best buddy on the planet, King Simon, who is wonderful. This is his QR code piece. Oh, I see I got a block on. I got to make sure that I do it without that little thing blocking it. So you're able to access it. I'll make sure that that's straight on the next week's show. And also, I want to thank Miss Kimberly. I'm on her podcast. She's now to have a new podcast called Astronumerology Revealed. It's also on YouTube, Astronumerology Revealed. And so I do thank her. And also these brilliant youngsters, okay? That's got an IQ higher than Bill Gates, than Einstein, and all these people. And they ain't even hit teenage yet. Brilliant babies. Take a look. Maybe your baby is one of them too. So definitely make sure you do these things, okay? And look to see what's going on. Let me see. On Monday, I'm having a guest that I haven't had on for a while. Let me see. I thought I had a. Do I? Okay. Her name is Callie. She's been on the show before, but she will be on Monday. All righty. So also, the free monthly newsletter for September. September's almost a wrap. Next week will be October, believe it or not. Okay. So October's already recorded. The newsletter is being prepared. And so hopefully by the same time next week, I think it'll be the 1st of October or 2nd or something like that. You'll be having it. But in the meantime, get the free newsletter. We don't sell the news, your email. I don't do that. And if you don't want to read the newsletter, you can hear the newsletter where I deal with all what your sign, your sun, your ascendant, or your moon is in these signs. So there's some of you I've noticed that say, well, I read my ascendant. Some says I read my sun sign. Some says I read my moon sign. Whatever it is, I got you covered. Okay. So this way, and it is done by Miss Kimberly and I. And this was about making major moves for September. All righty. And again, I do want to thank you. By the way, as I said, promise. Oh, here we go. Here's Callie. There she go. This is who's going to be on the show this coming Monday. And when we spoke, I said, you still born on the 16th of September? See, I still remember. I try to remember people's birthdays, and I got a ton of birthdays in my head, but she will be my guest on this Monday. And again, please, if you download my app, do it on your Android or Apple, give it 5 stars and whatnot. It's improving, it's getting better. In fact, I just had an update on it. And so I can tell how some of it is coming together even more so the way I like it. But for those of you, thank you very much. A star 8 on Google or Android or Apple. Alrighty, so I guess that's it. Everybody, you'll have a very nice weekend. You'll have a very nice day. Again, I got to thank my good buddy Donald Thomas, who makes life so much easier. And as you see why he broke the records, because 3 is a number that talks. So if you know anybody born on the 3rd of the month, the 12th of the month, the 21st, like Donald Thomas, or the 30th of the month, the one thing they're known to do is they are conversational. Now, it all depends on the zodiac sign and the name too. But the name Donald is a 6. Thomas is a 6. 6 plus 6 is 12, which is a 3. So he has a 3 in his name. He has the 3 in his birthday. And he has 3s running through his name to a degree too. So if one is not, I am not surprised why the brother broke the Guinness record for longest after dinner speech. Okay. All of you have a special gift. The thing is to find yours and not worry about what somebody else is doing. That's a distraction. Focus on you. You're the most important person on this planet, whether you know it or not. I say to you, love all of you much. And as Miss Kimberly says on her show, the God in me loves the God in you. And I really mean that sincerely. I think also Reverend Ike says something like that, the God in you. So the God in me loves the God in you. Just that simple. All of you have a blessed day. I say.